Okay, here we are. So we can start. Hi, everyone. And we are starting. And I'm Alex Waisoke, managing marketing and communications at Fordaq. And here today, I would like to welcome every one of you and our speakers and moderator, Sampsa, please.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to what I think is going to be a very important conversation in our industry for a long time. My name is Sampsa. I'm chairman of the board at Fordaq, and I'll be the moderator today for this panel discussion, the situation in the Middle East and its impact on the Gulf, on the global wood industry. Before our speakers will introduce themselves, let me give you a very quick snapshot where we stand geopolitically today, because frankly, the situation changed again overnight. The US-Israel war on Iran began on the 28th of February this year, following airstrikes that included the assassination of the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Iran's response was swift. It closed the Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of the world's seaborne oil trade and 20% of the global LNG normally passes. A ceasefire was agreed in early April, but this morning, the U.S. Secretary of, so that was yesterday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stood at the White House podium and declared that Operation Epic Fury, the combat operation launched against Iran in February, is over and that America's priority is now reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Our presence, he said, is for these straits to be opened back to the way they're supposed to be. The problem is that the situation on the water tells a very different story. For the second consecutive day, the UAE has reported that its air defense systems were engaged shooting down missiles and drones launched by Iran. Yesterday alone, the UAE intercepted 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones. An Iranian drone also struck an oil process facility in Fujairah, causing a fire and injuring 3 people. Iran denied any pre-planned attack, calling it consequence of U.S. military adventurism. And yesterday, an Israeli source told CNN that Israel and the U.S. are preparing for a possible short campaign to exert pressure on Iran during negotiations. On the strait itself, the U.S. launched what it calls Project Freedom on Monday, a mission to escort stranded vessels out of the Gulf. U.S. forces sank 6 Iranian boats that threatened commercial ships and opened a guarded lane. But so far, only 2 merchant ships are known to have passed through. Hundreds more remain bottled up, with shippers still too wary to move. Before the war, around 3,000 vessels passed through the strait every month. In March, the number fell to 154. Around 2,000 ships remain stranded in the Gulf, and even if the strait opens fully, the U.S. estimates it could take 6 months to clear the mines believed to have been laid by Iran. The economic toll is real and growing. U.S. gas prices have risen 50% since the start of the war. Brent crude is trading, well, this was yesterday, around $112 a barrel. And this is the world our panelists are operating in every single day. Not a background noise, but as the daily reality shaped every freight quote, every customer conversation, and every strategic decision. So we're going to have this panel discussion split into 4 segments. In total, we have just over an hour and 9 minutes now left. The first segment, it's the situation on the ground, what is actually happening in these markets right now, in real books and real conversations. The second segment will concentrate on supply chains and pricing, the hard economics of shipping European wood into the region today, and what's changed. The third section is where I think most of you will lean in, growth strategies, what actually works commercially in this environment. And we'll close with segment 4, the 12-month outlook, cautious optimism or braced for more turbulence. And we'll finish at 1:15 Central European time. And now I would like to ask the panelists to introduce themselves. So maybe Ulf, you go first.
Yes, Hello, everyone. My name is Gabrielson. I'm the CEO of Uniform Marketing, which is a sales company working only in the MENA region, and we are owned by big forest companies in Sweden, SCA, Holmen, and Södra. And you can say that we sell roughly 10% of their volumes to this part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulf. Maybe Thomas, you go next. Thomas, you're muted.
Sorry, I apologize. Hello, everyone. Now you can hear me, yes?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, a brief introduction of myself. Yeah, my name is Thomas Schauerte, Director of Sales in the Ante Group. A little bit about the company. The Ante Group belongs to the leading family-owned wood processing companies in Europe. We have 7 locations, 6 in Germany and 1 in Poland. At our 3 sawmill sites, we cut approximately 3 million cubic meter of logs last year. So almost we are talking about 2 million cubic meters of sawn timber, which were sold and are sold in this year also, more or less in 40 countries worldwide, and are made of spruce, pine, Douglas, fir, and larch. So we are only in the softwood business. To the production range also belongs 80,000 cubic meters of glulam, same output in CLT, almost 400,000 cubic meters of KVH, long length finger jointed, more than 500,000 tons of heating pellets, and a lot of products for the house and garden, like fences, carports, furniture, playing equipment, decking boards, and so on. The estimated turnover for this year is budget with 400 million euro. I personally take care about the output of all mills, all products, and all markets, except the CLT, which we have separated. So I would like to say many thanks for inviting me to join the meeting today. Challenging times currently, and the hot topic we will talk about in the next hour. Thanks to all of you for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Hassan, maybe you go next.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me also for Fordaq. My name is Hassan Sinno. I'm the general manager of ITCO, International Timber Company. I'm a 4th generation in my family in that industry in the region. We are a wood, panels, and as well as construction and furniture complementary products distributors and manufacturers of wood and storage solutions with a network covering the Kingdom and Lebanon, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We work with and retail, and this is what I would base my view on how the market is evolving in our region today.
Okay, thank you, Hassan. Just for you to note, we can't see you, or I can't see you at the moment. But yeah, let's move on then. Maybe Matti, you go next.
Yes, thanks, Sampsa. Hello, everyone. My name is Matti Iso-Kuusela. I'm working as a sales director in a company called Versowood in Finland. And a couple of words about our company. So we are the biggest sawmiller in Finland with 6 sawmills, and sawn timber is our main product. But then we have also a big variety of different kinds of further processed products, like glulam, which we are producing in 3 factories, and that is including both standard glulams and also the project glulams. Then we have also a plain timber, impregnated, finger joint, strength graded, and so on. Also producing a lot of wooden pallets, wooden cable drums, heating pellets, telephone and electricity poles, also wooden bridges. And all the units are based in Finland, and turnover estimation for the coming year is about 700 million euros, about 1,000 people working in the company.
Thank you, Matti. And finally, Ibrahim. Ibrahim, we can't hear you.
Yes, you hear me? You hear me now?
Yes, now it's good.
Yes, I'm glad to be with you today and the distinguished speaker in this webinar today by Fordaq. I am Ibrahim. Elshal, the CEO and the purchasing director of a family company based in Egypt since like 1975, working as timber importer, sawn timber, sawn softwood, and also working in the wood-based panels like plywood, MDF, etc. So this is just a quick overview because I think we're already short on time.
Good. Thank you, Ibrahim. Okay, let's dig into the panel discussion. So I'll start with a number of questions here, and then we'll take it from there. So maybe Ulf, you could answer the following question: from a commercial intelligence standpoint, what demand signals are your clients seeing from the Middle East buyers? Are order books drying up, shifting, or just repricing at the moment?
We see a slightly decreasing demand from our buyers in the Middle East, but we are only more or less only exporting redwood or pine for joinery purposes to Saudi, and that demand has been on quite on a stable level. But it decreased after the pandemic years. And as it seems, the ongoing conflict, it hasn't have a direct impact on the demand at the moment. But of course, if this continue, it will have for sure an influence on the long term. Then you can always discuss if substitution material to our products like PVC products will be more expensive because they are oil based, and that of course can be a favor for wood. But yeah, the short answer to your question, Sampsa, is that we see quite a stable demand at the moment.
Okay, that's interesting. And maybe to follow on that, are the Middle Eastern buyers changing how they communicate with the European suppliers right now? Is there longer silences, shorter contracts, more price shopping? How do you see the activity of the customers?
No, not really. I mean, we do only quarter-based contracts at the moment, but of course the negotiations for the second quarter took much longer time than normal, and yeah, we just finished 1 or 2 weeks ago, and that was of course due to the war and the stoppage in the Persian Gulf. As you all know, the big shipping companies increased the tariffs dramatically, and this caused, of course, a huge uncertainty. And what happened was that all new bookings were stopped completely from us, and then everybody was waiting to see what will happen, and then we decided it's no use to start up negotiations for the second quarter before there was some kind of understanding what will happen, and yeah, more or less 1 month of supply disappeared for us, and it will take time for us to take that back. And in some cases, our sawmills, they were forced to find other buyers for some volume when the war started. But good was that, or still is, that the stock level is in general is quite on a normal level. So we had no pressure from our mills to finalize the second quarter very fast. So that was positive.
Okay, good. Thomas, at your sales level, are you seeing the Middle Eastern project being cancelled, delayed, or just repriced? What does your sales pipeline actually looks like at the moment?
Yeah, Sampsa, this is an important and quite interesting question. But from my point of view, we have to separate. On the one hand, we see the huge sustainable construction projects in the Middle East, like for instance, Neom in Saudi Arabia or the Master City in the Emirates, and the impact to them because of the geopolitical turmoil at the moment. But already since the beginning of the Ukraine war, multiple geopolitical shocks have directly affected construction markets and mega project developments in the Middle East region. For these projects, like mentioned before, we see that some projects have already been downsized and the timelines have been extended significantly. But on the other hand, we see, let me call this our daily bread and butter business, the regular shipments to our partners in the Middle East. For instance, simple products like scaffolding boards or just sawn timber for the construction field, only rough sawn and made of spruce or pine. For this daily business, for products like this, we meanwhile see quite the opposite. The majority of the importers are running totally out of stock. The demand for products like this in this region is on a really high level. But it's the quite difficult challenge is to bring this stuff into the countries in this area. We will talk about the logistic later today.
Okay, thank you. Hassan, you're operating both in Saudi Arabia and Lebanon, two completely different in economic context. Can you paint us a picture of what doing business in the Middle East wood market actually feels right now from the ground level?
Sure. Well, it's not a walk in the park by any means. Still, there's a sense of that we're operating in a market that has become much more disciplined and much more aware of its exposure, both external and internal dynamics. I mean, the shocks are definitely there, and we're living with them. On the one hand, you still have strong structural demand in Saudi Arabia, as Thomas just mentioned. On the other hand, you're dealing with a level of operation complexity that is significantly higher than a few years ago or a few months ago even. Today, execution is key. Timing, coordination across the entire supply chain. It's not technical detail. It's basically the main business that we're living on day-to-day basis. And we're monitoring logistics behaviors every day. In periods like this, we have a very complex freight structure. We have multiple surcharges, we have war risk, we have fuel surcharges, change of destination surcharges, container detention, port storage. I mean, every day, we're hearing of a new cost. And sometimes they're introduced with very limited visibility and or consistency actually between shipping lines and agents. So there's a lot of volatility on the ground, and this is what we're actively managing on a day-to-day basis. It feels a lot like what we experienced during COVID. At that time, extreme price spikes, lack of availability, and all this forced us all, whether it's importers, suppliers, customers, we had to adapt. And what stayed from that period, I think, is quite important. The market today is very structured, as I said, very cautious, and focused on risk management. No one wants to make the wrong decision. So it's not an easy environment, but as always, and this is what we have learned from the past, uncertainty also creates opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Hassan. Thomas also mentioned about these larger projects in Saudi Arabia being delayed and postponed. Is that the same that you are also seeing? And what's your view about these larger projects in general?
Look, I mean, Vision 2030 is happening. It's real. Maybe it's not the straight line that some suppliers would like it to be, but I think we have all enough white hair on our head to know that life is not a straight line. Saudi Arabia is clearly investing, is building, is transforming, and it's creating real demand for wood and wood-based products across all industries, whether it's construction, fit-outs, manufacturing. So does it translate into smooth, predictable order books? No. Does it translate into same products being used over and over, as Ulf was saying? No. I mean, people are learning to use different products. Projects are moving in phases. Priorities are shifting. Contractors are changing sometimes. And the name of the game today is cash flow discipline. Cash flow is tighter than before. It's no secret. It's not only now because of the conflict. It's been there for a while. So yes, demand exists, projects are real, but purchasing behavior, I would say, is more selective. And after COVID, we all learned that it's not only availability-driven demand, it's efficiency-driven. So yes, the opportunity is absolutely there, but capturing it requires you to be precise, flexible, and aligned with your client, not just capacity and availability.
Thank you, Hassan. Matti, Finland is one of Europe's major softwood exporters and producers. What share of Versowood's volumes historically went to the Middle East, and how has that shifted over the past year or so?
Yeah, let's say that the Middle East has been always an important market area for, of course, for our company, but also for all of the Scandinavian sawmills. And we can see that during the couple of last years, the volume from Finland have increased to Middle East. But now in these circumstances, of course, we know that this year will be something less. So the volumes will be dropping down. We don't know exactly how much. It depends how much this situation will last and what will happen especially in the second half of the year. But from the sawn timber export volumes of Finland, about 10 to 12% has been going to the Middle East countries during the last years. And from these volumes, almost half has been going to Saudi Arabia, which is the biggest market in the Middle East for the Finnish sawmills. And let's say from our company's volumes to the Middle East, share has been about that in that level anyway, when looking the years back. And but during the last 1 year, if looking from the short term, our share has been increasing a little bit over there. So it has been really an important area while our production has been increasing at the same time. So increase has been coming from there. So this crisis now in the Middle East is really affecting and having a direct impact to our operations, of course, but of course to all of the sawmills in Finland and also in the Scandinavia and European sawmills, let's say.
Okay, and are the Finnish sawmills at the moment pulling back from the Middle Eastern markets, or is it a kind of wait and see situation, or are you pushing to keep the market share over there regardless?
I would say in general the situation is, or the mood is so that everybody's waiting and seeing what is really happening, and this situation is not affecting to the production volumes what we are having in Finland. So everybody is keeping the production in the same level than before the happening started in the Middle East. We just need to find a way to how to manage to go over this period. How long this unexpected period will last is a key question when we are thinking about the actions we need to do in the sales and also in the logistics for the coming months, for the next weeks, for the coming months. And I would say that wait and see. Everybody is following closely what is happening in the area. Things are changing, let's say, almost daily or weekly. And then we need to make the decisions based on that. We will be back in the markets as soon as possible. And actually, partly we are already back there making some loadings already. Not in the normal levels, but anyway, something we are already doing. But the thing is so that there are still risks. What is really happening, and if something unexpected will happen that is affecting directly and quickly to the logistics, and that is making a big problems. Then if we have some deliveries, containers sailing on the way to the final destinations, so that is a big risk still. But I would say that everybody is really following closely, and we'll be back as soon as possible.
And so can I say, if you said that the production volumes have stayed the same and there has been difficulties in the shipping, so are the stock levels in the, let's say, the MENA dimensions specifications increasing at the moment, or are they high?
I would say that maybe in some sizes, but in generally, like we have been doing, so we have been selling these to the other markets.
Okay. Good. Ibrahim, Egypt sits at the crossroads of North Africa and Middle East and has been dealing with its own significant economic turbulences. How is the domestic and economic pressure interacting in what's happening regionally in the wood market?
Yes, Egypt has been dealing with economic turbulence. You are right. But honestly, if we look at 2025, during 2025, was somehow good. If we disregard the dip level, it was a good year. from all economic perspective. Pre-war situation was actually much better than 5 or 4 years ago. But Egypt, as you know, is heavily dependent on foreign investment. Here I will mention two main types of this foreign investment. One of them is very related, which is the foreign investment from the Gulf countries, from GCC countries. So there is some reports about it will be decreased, or some projects will be put on hold, but we still don't see it clearly until today. The other main type of foreign investment is what we named here, what we called the hot money, which is quickly flees when there is any signals for decreased reserves, foreign reserves. But actually, until today, we still don't have this problem. The foreign reserves are in good level. So we still not see any big problem with the hot money. It's going out and coming again. It's not the same as 3 years ago. It's going some week are negative, some 1 week negative, another week positive. So overall, the situation actually is much better than we expected 3 or 4 months ago when the war starts.
Okay, thank you. And Egypt is also a re-export hub for some wood products deeper into Africa and other Arab markets. Is that trade transit still functioning? Has this been interrupted or disrupted?
No, it's still it's still working, functioning very actively recently. If we talk about the last 3 months, but here I just want to clarify. Do you mean that just shipping transit, so without any customs clearance here in Egypt, or you mean the transit trade after customs clearance? So I mean that, because actually we have two types of this trading here. The first type, which is
basically both. Maybe you can cover both of those.
Both. The shipping transit, this is something not related to us. There is an importer in African country or the closest countries, like mainly Sudan, maybe other countries too, South Sudan or other countries, and they use Egypt as transit. It's by the way, it was also a model having started when the war started for Saudi. But it's now, due to the prices and rates, it's changing. But the main thing related to us as Egyptian importers here is the export, the re-export from Egyptian yards, from Egyptian importers. So we import from Scandinavia, from Central Europe, from whatever, and then there's customers come and buy the goods from here, from our yard, and re-export mainly to Sudan. If we are talking about this, it was very active during the last 3 months. Another type of transit trading is the simple reprocessing or processing. So we buy softwood, for example, from Scandinavia, from any region. Then there is a very simple processing happen. Then it's re-export to mainly also to Arab countries, Gulf countries. But this is not a very big volume.
Okay, thank you. Good. Let's move to the second segment, the supply chain and pricing. So, Ulf, when the freight risk and price unpredictability spikes like we have now seen, how should the European wood exporter be repositioning its value proposition in the Middle Eastern markets? Is it price, reliability, or is it something else?
Of course, price is always important, but I would say directly reliability. I mean, we are not jumping in and out of the Saudi market, so we try to have a dialogue with our buyer and try to find solution. And one example we have is, of course, when we try to share this extra cost now at the moment, the war risk surcharge and the fuel charge between us and the customers to keep the business going. Then I would like to mention, which is things that we cannot have an impact on, is actually the shipping to the ports. I mean, when it comes to softwood, it's very important that Jeddah is working in the Red Sea. For I think for our buyers, I mean, we can handle the import to Jeddah. It doesn't need to go into the Persian Gulf, which is closed. And I think if you look on the countries or the ports around in Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, around 3 million cubic meter of softwood came in there last year. Half of that was probably into Jeddah. So that is really important that that port is working. And of course, there is a threat from the Houthi regime in Yemen against the Red Sea transport. So I hope that really will not be the case. So that is reliability for sure. And also, I think even if the war stops, I think the shipping companies will stay for some time with these surcharges because they don't trust in the first time the countries, I mean US and Iran and the deals they are making. So I think we have to live with that extra cost for some time. That's my personal feeling.
Okay, thank you. Thomas, when you look at the freight costs from the to the Gulf region versus today versus what it was 18 months ago, 1 year ago, what does that do to the unit economics of a German shipper? And at what point does it stop making any sense?
Yeah, this is difficult to answer. Basically, Ulf, I agree what was mentioned by you. But let's say our period starting approximately 2 to 3 years after COVID ended, we had more or less stable freight rates to the various ports in the Middle East region. And the last year, large volumes of newly built vessels entered the service because of this logistics situation. It was marked by overcapacity and declining freight rates. But with the outbreak of the war in March this year, as we know, everything changed totally. In the meantime, a large number of key ports are currently not longer being served, while in others, freight costs have doubled or even also tripled. In addition to the sharply increasing container rates, the shipping lines are claiming a war risk charge, which in the worst case could currently double the already high container rates. So this is the biggest problem in my opinion at the moment. Today we see freight costs to the Middle East, let's say for instance from Argentina, from New Zealand, from Canada, from Russia, from Northern or Central Europe, which are all really close together. So at this time, freight costs are determined less by distance, but more by risk exposure. This is the situation I see at the moment. But please allow me to add the following. We in Germany, honestly, we have to be in mind that the log prices in Central Europe have reached a price peak we have never seen in history. Considering this fact, it is difficult to match some prices offered from competitors in other parts of the world. And regardless of how the rise in the logistic costs is now making matters even more difficult. So ultimately, it is up to the local buyers to decide whether or not they are prepared to pay current prices we are able to offer you from Central Europe.
Yeah, and Thomas, are you seeing your customers changing in their patterns on how they buy? Are they buying smaller, more frequent shipments to reduce the exposure, or are they still looking for larger forward contracts?
Talking about the Middle East and on all parts of the world, this is totally different. But basically, we do not observe a consistent pattern in purchasing behavior. In general, I would say buyers around the world are currently uncertain and tend to take a wait-and-see approach, purchasing only what is really needed on the daily business and the short term. But again, many of the buyers in the Middle East, this is the difference to all other parts of the world from my point of view, are currently running totally out of stock, like mentioned before, and some of them are willing to take whatever we are able to deliver. So from my point of view, it's at the moment, it's simply unpredictable to see what will happen in the next couple of months, shall we say days or weeks. So therefore, we all along the supply chain have to adjust our strategy at the moment and almost on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. Hassan, which shipping routes and ports are you using to bring European wood into Saudi Arabia and Lebanon right now? And has there been a change in the Red Sea situation and the Gulf War?
Yes, sure. This is probably the biggest practical change that has happened lately. I mean, historically, Saudi Arabia was served through both coasts, Dammam on the east and Jeddah or King Abdullah port on the west. Today, with the disruption affecting the Strait of Hormuz, flows into the Arabian Gulf are completely stopped. We have not received any shipment in the last 2 months, 2.5 months. So as a result, Jeddah has effectively become the main entry point, not only for Saudi Arabia, actually, but for increasingly more and more countries in the GCC. Cargo that was already in transit when the situation started has been rerouted, and we had to collect some of our containers in India and the UAE and Oman and Egypt. Some of it still has not reached us, actually. 2.5 months after the start of the war, we still have goods stranded somewhere. I cannot even start telling you about the costs involved in this. But the key point is that logistics is no longer fixed, basically. It's dynamic. And we have learned this from past crises. When supply becomes uncertain, the industry adapts by being more flexible, more creative. And we are paying attention to every detail. For Lebanon, it's a bit different. It's before the Suez Canal, it's in the Mediterranean. The flow of goods is still stable. Mainly the northern port of Tripoli is the one that is used for wood imports. Beirut handles more the container cargo. So the main impact in Lebanon is just cost increases at supplier level and freight surcharges. But again, I mean, freight surcharges are much more reasonable than what we are seeing in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, we're seeing anywhere from 2x to 4x coming in terms of freight rate. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Okay. And are the European suppliers becoming harder to work due to this logistics? And are you looking for other alternatives, other origins at the moment, or are you still keeping with your existing, let's say, suppliers?
I would say the relationship is not more difficult. It's just evolving. I mean, of course, first of all, everyone is usually very concerned about our well-being, which is heartwarming and appreciated. But then comes the business reality, and here there's clearly pain on both sides of the line. European suppliers are facing their own challenges: energy costs, transportation, raw material, chemicals for panel producers. And of course, there's freight volatility, as everyone's talking about, risk perception of the region, and of course, working capital considerations. And this is understandable, I mean, no doubt. But the questions we keep on asking ourselves is, okay, how is that pressure managed and how is it shared? Is there an understanding of the specific impact of this situation on the GCC? Is this behavior adapted accordingly to this specific impact on the GCC? Because the GCC is definitely taking the brunt of the impact. So should we treat everyone the same way? And we are, talking daily to our suppliers, and definitely some of them are thinking, in my opinion, the right way, that today's behavior will affect your business tomorrow. So we are partners. I mean, we praise ourselves from working with the same companies for the past 20, 30, 40 years. So definitely it's not 2-3 months of hiccup that should move the relationship in a negative place. But of course, different people react differently. And anyone whose approach is simply, you know what, it's your problem, take it over, it becomes difficult to survive in the long term, not only with ITCO, with anyone, I'm sure. The customer is very well informed, understands that the burden has to be shared, and alternatives do exist. I mean, as others mentioned, it doesn't mean that the alternatives necessarily are from other origins. It can be from within the same origin, different suppliers who are working differently. And we are seeing this. I mean, I think this crises help see the true depth of the relationship. And as in other industries, if you think about food or clothing or anything, brand loyalty is becoming less and less important, and consumers are more and more open to alternatives, at least much more open than before. So naturally, we are becoming much more active ourselves in comparing origins, testing alternatives, managing sourcing much more dynamically. But at the end of the day, for us, Europe remains a key partner, whether it's for quality, innovation, consistency. I mean, you name it. There are many reasons why Europe is the main partner. And the suppliers who are doing well are those whose approach is and whose approach is correct in this situation and are sharing the challenge, not just pushing it one side.
Correct, Hassan. Crises always are there to test us and test the relationships. You're absolutely right with that. Matti, you mentioned that the volumes that were produced for the Middle East, have been shifted to other markets. So where are they going mainly, and has that impacted your margin? Margin question, I know is a bit delicate, but just if you could hint us a hint of that.
Yeah. Let's say that from the sawmill's point of view, that is really a key question that how to redirect and reallocate the volumes if one market area is suddenly out of the game, and that is what we now needed to do. And Scandinavian mills are usually making the businesses as a quarterly based contracts, so making this kind of big actions like this during the quarter is not the easiest task to do, but can be done, of course. But if talking first about the volumes, so that is not easy to give a simple answer, because there is a variety of products normally going to Middle East in both species and also many qualities. But from the boards, I would say that from the saw boards, those has been redirected to North African countries, also to the European countries in Europe, let's say to the packaging industry, depending of the thickness and width. And then the square edge boards mainly to the European countries. Maybe something has been going also to the Far East. But then when talking about the center cuts, those has been spreading around to all the possible markets, because then we are talking about many sizes, qualities, and then there are buyers for those really in the different markets. So that is really depending which dimension and quality we are talking about. And let's say that maybe some of the producers, not so much in Finland, but maybe some of the producers who have had already regular program in the production for North America, maybe they have been increasing a little bit the volumes also to that destination. But all in all, there is not only one solution or destination how to handle this case, or let's say this kind of case. One reason is having sales to Middle East in both species, many different sizes, thicknesses starting from the 16 millimeters going up to 100 millimeters, different widths, and then there is many qualities. So that is like a puzzle what we need to do. But then margin profiles, depending also so much to which markets the goods has been redirected. But if generally speaking, when we need to do this kind of fast actions, especially during the quarter, it doesn't make any positive effect to the margin profiles, and difficult to compare exactly due to so many destinations. But all in all, I would say that the suppliers, they are on the negative side anyway in this case.
Yeah, I mean the general economic situation for sawmills in Europe is not very good in any way at the moment due to higher raw material prices. That's correct. Matti, the Russian softwood has been cut off from Europe, and obviously we've seen in the past years heavy pressure in the Middle Eastern markets. Has the last 2 months changed this situation? Anyway?
I would say that no any changes during the last months, and but I would put these into 3 different categories depending on markets. in the first category, not mentioning the country so much, but anyway, that there is a direct competition with the Russian volumes, and they are offering the same kind of specification, and that competition was getting more tough after they were cut off from the European markets. But I would say that during the last years we have seen that the competition has been getting a little bit easier, and I think the main reason is so that the Russian production volumes have been decreasing from the top levels, what those were some years ago. And the second category is that we are in the same markets anyway, and the Russians, they are offering same kind of specification that what we are doing, maybe a little bit differences in some cases. So we are somehow competing, in some cases we are not competing so much. And then the third one is so that we are not in the same markets so much. So we know that in some markets in the Gulf region or in the Middle East, the Russians, they are dominating the markets, but those are not traditionally hasn't been to Scandinavian suppliers so much. Maybe some small volumes going here and there, but not so much, and that is because of the cost of the logistics, and also the specifications haven't been, let's say, suitable for the Scandinavian production.
Okay, thank you. Ibrahim, as a timber importer, what does your supplier mix looks like at the moment? And has the origin of the wood shifted in the past year? And are you looking to shift that in the past couple of in the future, less European or more from elsewhere?
No, actually, it's still more European. It's still more European. If you are talking about sawn softwood, I think, right?
Yes.
Of course, it's more European, and it's getting even more European during the last 3 years. If you are talking about wood-based panels or plywood, of course, it's getting more Asian.
Okay. And payments and letters of credit have historically been challenging in Egypt. Has this situation improved, worsened, or is more or less stayed the same for the importers?
Historically, if you mean at all times when letter of credit was the only way of payment, I know you have experienced sales to Egypt at these times. I don't like to specify years. Hassan mentioned that we all have white hair in our head. I believe he mean we are getting smarter, not older, of course. So Sampsa actually has a very good experience in sales and in the timber moving to Egypt from a long time in the past period. At this time, it was only letter of credit. If you mean historically like this, no, of course it's not anymore. And if you mean like 3-4 years ago, when the central bank has a decision to do all the imports only through letter of credit, no, it's not anymore. It's now we are working. I mean, Egyptian banks are open for all types of payments. We ourselves in Elshal Timber, most of our mainly do advance payment. So I know that 3 years ago or 4 years ago, advance payment were not possible from Egypt banks, but now no, it's possible. Any kind of payment is possible.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, let's move to the third segment, which is strategies for the growth now. Ulf, what is the biggest mistake you see European wood companies making in how they communicate with Middle Eastern buyers during a crisis like this?
Yeah, we try to avoid mistakes, of course. So I can only talk for ourselves, but we keep the dialogue going and together with our customers and try to find, as I said before, solutions. And as an example, we had containers that were stuck in the Swedish port when the war started, and we had to resell them to Asian markets and so on. But then of course, we need to honor the contract, and we cannot just cancel the volumes to our buyers. There was a discussion within the Swedish wood industry to use the force majeure clause in the contract, but my experience is I think it was not a good idea. I don't know if anyone did that. So to have a good dialogue and to discuss is the best. And then also to have a very good communication with the shipping companies is very important. I mean, either directly with them or through brokers. It's a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't have that good communication. And they are quite big organizations, those container companies, and can be quite bureaucratic. So that can cause a lot of frustration. So it was very tough in the beginning, but we learned a lot and we managed to solve the problems.
Okay, thank you. Thomas, have you had to change the sales approach in the Middle East, specifically with payment terms, contracts, lead times recently, or are you sticking with what you've always done?
Sampsa talking about the rules of the game. That's a quick answer. No, there was no need to change the framework conditions. We have been doing business to the Middle East for many years, and we have the confidence to the customers. And the current situation, no, there's no need to change. But talking about the sales approach and your question, a part of the current situation with the war, what we see, all of us in Central Europe and some regions in Sweden or Northern Europe could be the same. We have the lack of spruce log supply, and this is the challenge for us to convince the customers also in the Middle East. In some countries, as we know, they love the pine, and others, for instance, in Saudi Arabia North, this is the big challenge at the moment to convince the customers to take the pine instead of the spruce. This is a challenge, but this is a part of the current situation we see because of the war. But again, the terms of payment and so on, no, nothing changed.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Hassan, Ulf also mentioned here about communication and the importance of communication. So, what would you say that is the one thing that European exporters are misunderstanding about how the business is actually done in the markets right now? Is there something that you feel frustrated maybe about, or are you able to communicate these openly?
Look, I have to say, I mean, as Thomas and Ulf said, these relationships are not new. I don't think anyone today is coming into the Middle Eastern market or the GCC market and entering it now. All these issues that we're dealing with people who we've known for a while, we've dealt with, we've gone through ups and downs together. So I don't think there's misunderstanding per se. What I would say is there's different approaches to each issue, and this is what I was mentioning earlier. And maybe some suppliers think that cost increases are just automatically transferable, and of course they're not. I mean, the market may simply not accept them, not because they don't want to accept them, only because maybe they cannot accept them. And there's a level of there's a purchasing power at some point, there's a value to something, there's an alternative to something, and the reality is that we as distributors have not passed them fully. I mean, we have shared them across the chain. Supplier has taken some, and I don't know of any supplier who has not taken some part of it. Distributors have taken some, the manufacturers has taken some, and the end user has paid some of it. So I think there's a clear understanding of that. There's different reactions, but there's an understanding. The second is the execution part of the product. I mean, some people understand much more the importance of delivering faster, or the documentation to be there, and consistency. I mean, price is not always everything. And here again, those who have good relationships with us have been extremely good at this. I mean, people who have been in the market for a while know how important it is to avoid one single day of demurrage in Jeddah port. It can become very, very expensive very quickly. And lastly, I think alignment matters. If the message is partnership, but actions are purely transactional or by the book or as per the contract, then I mean, it's a problem. But if we're managing the gap correctly, I think this consistency will pay off in the long term. And I saw a couple of questions, in the chat, and I think we should answer them. Harold asked about land routes, land routes from Saudi Arabia to Kuwait, to Qatar, to Bahrain, to the UAE are open, and they're very active these days. Krill asked about Khorfakan. Khorfakan is a port that is very important, that we have discovered its existence, actually, or personally, I have discovered its existence through this crisis. It's a port in the UAE on the outside the Hormuz Strait. So this port is available in the UAE for shipments coming, but honestly, we try to avoid it at any cost because the cost is just crazy. The same way shipping lines are taking advantage of the situation, Khorfakan's environment, be it the port or being transporters there, be it everything, is just outrageous. I mean, it's costing more than the value of the container to clear containers from there. And we have had, unfortunately, the painful experience of using Khorfakan. So Khorfakan is not an option in our materials, but I know that there's a lot of activity there. The last question of Krill was about freight rate from different regions. As someone mentioned, I think more or less the freight rate is the same today from wherever you are into the GCC. It's more a destination freight than an origin freight rate. But what we are seeing is that different suppliers are managing to negotiate differently because there's no transparency and there's no reason behind the increase in freight from these shipping lines. Different suppliers have had more or less success in decreasing freight. And so this is what we are seeing, the main difference from freight instead of routes, more from suppliers and shipping lines also. The shipping lines are acting differently.
Okay, thank you, Hassan. That's good. Yeah, there's a few questions coming, and we'll see if we can also cover some of them at the end. Matti, what you mentioned that you are able to shift production to other markets. I mean, as a company like Versowood, which is the largest in Finland at the moment in capacity and production, how quickly are you able to make these changes? And do you think that this is becoming a new normal as well in a way to operate in the sawmilling business?
Let's say we are able to do fast actions if that is really needed. Hopefully that is not going to be the new normal, but let's say that in the logistics, we can change the final destination really quickly for the containers which haven't been loaded yet in the sawmills. Then there is a different case if the containers are already sailing somewhere. For those we can do change also the final destination and the customer, but of course that is much more complicated. But yeah, which haven't been loaded yet in the mills, that is quite easy to change, and that can be done quickly. Then when talking about the production, also changes in the production are possible to do quickly, with of course some limitations depending what are the changes needed to be done, and so on. But normally we are not cutting only one dimension from one log size, so we can change between the dimensions per each log size quite fastly. So there is no any lead time for that one. But but for example, in this case concerning the Middle East, we haven't been doing any changes in the production. So we have been producing these basic sizes all the time and then just reallocating these to the other markets. And always need to remember that if we are making some changes in the production, we have also high log costs increasing at the moment. So we need to keep the yield also on mind all the time when talking about the production. When talking about the costs, if we are making quick changes, that is also really difficult to say totally. In the logistics, of course, we can calculate easily that if we are just changing the final destination, so what is the price difference compared to the original destination? That's easy. But then when talking about the changes in the production, there's many things affecting to this one, changing from which cuttings to which one, what is the yield, what are the prices then for the other products, and so on and so on. So that calculation is not so easy to make actually, compared to the easy one, which is logistics. But as said, yeah, normally if we need to do really fast actions, normally that is creating more costs, of course.
Sure.
In the beginning, at least.
Yeah, sure. It's clear. Thank you. Ibrahim, running a timber business in Egypt requires resilience. And so what have you had to change in the past year or do differently to keep your business stable and growing?
Yeah. Actually, yes. It's during the last, let's say, 10 years, keeping the business stable required a very high resilience. And the issue that it's even needs a very quick adaptation. And here is the main issue. For me personally, I give higher priority to the stability of our team over the stability of the business. And this may be the reason that when some sudden decision happen or a sudden problem, especially in the monetary problem, the foreign reserve problem, we might took some time, watch our step, to be sure that we are adapting legally. This might give advantage to our competitors a little bit who prefer to go to the very quick, some not right ways to do the business and payment. So it might give an advantage for the very short term, but for the long term, we succeed to find the right adaptation and legal adaptation to keep the business running and stable for the long term, because actually we always prefer and appreciate the long-term partnership with our suppliers, mainly based on regular deliveries. Sometimes could be delayed for 1 month, 2 months, but it shouldn't stop to keep it regular. So I would say that it's really, yes, it's a very big challenge, especially during the last 4 or 5 years, to adapt very quickly. It's a target, but we must do it in the right way. And this is my way and the way of my team in handling this issue.
Okay, thank you, Ibrahim. All right, let's move to the fourth and last part, the outlook. So Ulf, from a marketing and brand perspective, what type of European companies do you think are going to emerge stronger from this crisis we have at the moment, and why so? What are they doing differently?
It's not easy to answer, Sam. So I think I can only answer from the Swedish perspective, and companies that have their own forest, of course, has an advantage. I mean, if you look on the Swedish situation now, we have very high log prices. They are going down. The last months they are going down, but we are coming from a very high level. So what the Swedish mills have done is decrease the production to balance the output to the demand. And so I think that is the way to do it. Then, of course, as Matti mentioned before, to have solutions to sell to other parts in the world, to be very flexible, that is really important. And if you have that knowledge, you will succeed. And then again, communication is very important. So yeah. And also, of course, price increases to compensate for the fuel increase that we have had. And I think the Swedish mills has succeeded with that. I mean, we had a general increase in all transport here. So I think that gap we have closed now. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
just to follow up on that, I mean, do you see at the moment, other sources of wood from further away from, I don't know, New Zealand, South America, or North America taking market share from Sweden due to the crisis, or is it too early to see this?
Do you mean in the Middle East or in?
Yes, Middle Eastern markets.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not the right person to answer that, but for sure, South America is a big supplier into the pallet industry in the Middle East from Chile and Brazil. We have seen an increased share from them. So actually, the Swedish we differs a little bit from Finland if you make a comparison there. We more or less are only into the red wood. To the center cut and not so much into the boards and compete with South America there. So I understand Finland has a little bit bigger problem than us in that respect.
Okay. Thomas, there's been a lot of talk about sustainability and mass timber construction in the growing Gulf. Do you believe that opportunity, this is real, but how is it going to be affected with this crisis?
Well, to cut a long story short, I'm 100% convinced that countries like already mentioned, for instance, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, or the Emirates, they will stick to their plans as well to the projects already well underway. As we all know, the Middle East has become one of the most important global experimental regions for sustainable urban development and climate neutral construction. But we have to bear in mind that this is not only the environment we are talking about in this region. Many Gulf states are currently or have already started attempting to move beyond oil-based economies. Sustainable construction is therefore not only an environmental policy, but also an economical transformation strategy, in my opinion. Yeah, like mentioned before, maybe some projects, we have earlier spoken about this, maybe some projects have to be downsized. This is what we see, and maybe the timelines have to be extended. But basically, in my opinion, most of the big projects will be realized. Important to talk about, we have to be in mind as well one important factor, the central issue for the Gulf countries. They have to import more than 90 to 95% of their construction material. For all companies in this area, or for us in the sawmill industry, or let's say in the general in the industry, and all people, all companies along the entire supply chain, the business currently has been now quite challenging. This is the reason we are talking today. But in the long term, we will see a lot of possibilities for many products, for mass timber products like CLT, glulam, and other engineered timber products, and especially for modular prefabricated buildings. And this is our strategy. I 100% agree what was mentioned by Ulf. We see a lot of cheap timber coming, for instance, from Chile, from Argentina. So talking about, let's say, easy products, I'm not convinced if we will be able to go in competition with them. But talking about high value product, like mentioned before, for us it's CLT, it's glulam. I see really good possibilities in the long term.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Hassan, you're operating both in Saudi Arabia and Lebanon, and which markets do you see being, giving more positive outlook for yourself? And then the second question also, we talked about maybe the potential shift of supply to more wood from South America. I'd like to hear also your opinion on this. Do you see this happening at the moment?
Sure. I'm going to start with this because actually I wanted to say something So I heard Ulf's supply side. If I tell you on the receiving end, I think because the question you asked Ulf is who's gonna emerge stronger from this. And here I agree with both Thomas and Ulf. South America will not replace European wood for many reasons, but one of the main reasons, or two of the main reasons, let's say, one is the lead time is still a big issue. I mean, today we are living a logistics mess, and it's being compounded from South America also, or North America, as a matter of fact. So as long as this lead time is an issue, I think South America will not be as competitive as Europe, on the one hand. On the other hand, if you look at New Zealand or the other side of the world, I think China and China's economy will affect much more the decision of shipping to the Middle East or not. In terms of South America, also there's a third factor, which is the tariffs. I think tariffs also are the ones who pushed South Americans to look more at the Middle East. But again, tariffs are not there to last forever. Everything, can change at any point in time. So no, I don't think South America, it's the quality of the wood, the use of the wood, the lead time, or the geopolitical environment of the global geopolitical environment will not replace Europe. Europe will be reshuffling. I think there's a lot of pressures to consolidate in Europe. There's a lot of, it's difficult times for sawmills. And I think this is, you will see some sawmills take market share from other sawmills. I think in summary, the one that will survive is the one that understands that no crisis lasts forever. And, the more resilient you are, the more you develop a relationship with your clients, be it for us as distributors or for suppliers with ourselves. I think these are the parties that will survive. In terms of which market gives me confidence over the next 12 months, without any doubt, Saudi Arabia does. I mean, Saudi is the engine of the region. No matter what anyone can say, Saudi is the center of that region. Despite its short-term challenges like liquidity or the conflict, competition is big. Visibility, there's a lot of visibility. There's scale. There's direction. So I'm not concerned. Lebanon has resilience, yes. It has entrepreneurial strength, yes, but it remains very exposed to the current volatile internal and external situation and shocks. I mean, anything affects Lebanon. So, and it's a much smaller country. So definitely Saudi Arabia gives me more confidence than any other market in the region in the coming 12 months.
Okay, thank you, Hassan. We are going to wrap up the panel discussion. We're going to be approaching 1:15 in Central Europe. So at this stage, I would say that yes, we have a crisis. It's very dynamic. It's changing daily at the moment. Let's hope that this will be resolved quickly, and it will be a solution that will be sustainable and long term, and it brings stability back to the region, and that we can start to build up the road to normal trade. I would like to thank the panelists for participating, for your input, your views and visions. Thank you very much for this, and of course I'd like to thank the participants. Thank you for joining, and let's follow the situation carefully. This is what is the name of the game at the moment, and I wish everybody a very good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sampsa. Bye.